You're up.
All right, and greetings from the Dog Bowl here in Berea, Ohio. I'm Jason Gibbs. No, I am not Nathan Zegura. He's on assignment today, and if you listen to the show, you know what that means. Beau Bishop was a late scratch. He was questionable at about 8 a.m. this morning, downgraded to out at 11 a.m. You know what that means? That means Gibbs is hosting for the next 2 hours. Buckle up, kids. I have no idea where this show's going to go. No direction whatsoever. I've got a little rundown. I've given it to the guy that's spinning the dials back at ESPN Cleveland, a guy that takes a lot of crap from me from time to time. He is, he's the bearer of things when things go wrong. And he just lets it fall off his shoulder. Nick Paulus is spinning the dials back at the 850 ESPN Cleveland studios. But it's yours truly till 3 o'clock today. Now, that being said, I've got a whole group of people that's slated to join the show. Because the game plan was for Beau and I to host. And on the days that Beau hosts solo or Nathan hosts solo, I'll load up the show. At about 8 a.m. this morning, I realized I really needed to load up the show. And we have done that, and we're going to keep Nick busy behind the scenes. Nick, at some point, I'm sure I'm going to need you to talk. All good. We'll get through it, and looking forward to a busy, busy day. Coming up on the show today, Matt Fontana will join us from ESPN Cleveland tonight at 8:50 ESPN Cleveland. He'll join us at about 1:15. Brown senior staff writer Andrew Gribble at 1:30. Now, normally on Thursdays, we do a Twitter mailbag, Ask the Guys Anything. Today, it's Ask Gribble. So tweet at the show, at Browns_daily, hashtag Ask Gribble. We want your football questions, your Browns questions, your NFL questions, league questions, season questions, schedule questions, whatever they might be. Get them to us. We will get to as many as we can with Gribble. At 1:30, we'll be talking about rookie minicamp, looking ahead to minicamp in June, looking ahead to training camp, matchups, rooms that intrigue us the most. And we'll do that at 1:30. At 2 o'clock, Mike Clay, ESPN's prognosticator, will join us. Friend of show. You've heard him on the best podcast available. Yeah. I'm going to promote that a lot today. Why? Because I have a 2-hour window to do so. So he's been a guest there. He's been a guest on Cleveland Browns Daily frequently. And today he will join CBD, and he will talk about his latest article on ESPN.com, why the Cleveland Browns are legitimate Super Bowl threats in 2021. 7 reasons they could emerge in the AFC. Looking forward to having Mike Clay on. Also at 2 o'clock for the second hour of the show, my co-host for the hour, one Gerard Cherry, will join us. You know, you might hear him on occasion. Yeah, he's on a show from 3 to 5 called The Next Level on 850 ESPN Cleveland with Emmett Golden. Gerard, also known, he won 3 Super Bowls. That's right. He's trying for his 4th as a member of the Cleveland Browns radio network. That's what he told me during the draft and our draft coverage. So Gerard will be with me from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. I'm looking forward to having him. We've got some sound from Good Morning Football. They were asking their crew today who will win more games in 2021, Baker Mayfield or Matt Stafford. An interesting little conversation. We'll also pick Gerard's brain on the schedule for the Browns and how, as a player, he would view that schedule. We'll talk about the Browns. We'll go around the league. Plenty to talk about. On May 20th, still a lot of NFL news happening. Now, what's happening in this building right now? The rookies are here. The rookies continue to go through learning the playbook, out on the field doing some exercises, getting some workouts in, obviously hitting the weight room. and really just trying to get their feet firmly planted on the ground here in Berea as, we await mandatory minicamp, which will be at the middle part of June and still on right now. Obviously, things can change. It's a fluid situation, especially when it comes to the NFLPA and the league itself. But right now, mandatory minicamp still expected to be the week of June 14th. And the vets and the rookies coming together for one final week before we hit the ground running at the end of July with training camp and the start of the 2021 Cleveland Browns football season and the NFL season. Rookies are here. They're going to be here for a few weeks, going to be here for a while. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's been a lot of talk. You've heard Beau and Nathan talk about it quite a bit. It's good that these guys are getting virtually one-on-one time, unless you're in the defensive line room. And then I think it's 3-on-1. But a lot of great work going on behind the scenes with the coaching staff and the rookies and getting these guys up to speed so that they can hit the ground running. They know what needs to be done when the veterans do report in the middle of June. So that's what's going on here. Other than that, not a lot of people in the building. Look behind the curtain. This time of year, you got vacations, but in general, there's not a lot of people here in the building. The video and content team, the great people that are responsible for the videos that you see behind the scenes and the social media posts, all of us are here. The luminaries are here. But really, for the most part, outside of the football people, that's it in this building. So, and when the players back in the building, we're back on the other side of the wall. So we're responsible for our own food again. That's all right. We're adapting. We're overcoming the odds and the challenges. But obviously, players and coaches and that tiered system still in place here before training camp in late July. Again, if you have questions for Gribble, I will add this today as well. If you have questions for Gerard Cherry throughout his hour on the program, you can tweet at Browns_daily. Use the hashtag AskGribble. That'll count for Gerard as well. That's all right. Whatever we don't get to with Gribbs, we will get to with Gerard in hour number 2. Gribble coming up at 1:30. Mike Clay at 2 o'clock. Gerard from 2 to 3. And coming up next, my former intern, who is now a full-time on-air radio host. I'm not sure who he paid off for that duty, but he somehow has finagled his way into it. What I should do is play his demo tape and his first tapes when he was trying to get on the air. That's what we should do in the next segment, but we won't. We will go around the sports world because NBA games, NBA playoffs last night. Anybody stay up to watch Golden State and the Lakers? I did. I was rooting for Curry. It's the first time maybe in my life that I've ever done that. Disappointing, but the world continues to turn. That might have been the most excited I've been about an NBA game in 3-4 years. It was a good one, though. There's golf going on. Day 1 of the PGA Championship. Can't argue with that. I like major golf in May, especially in a week that, frankly, there's not a lot going on. And we'll get you a leaderboard update coming up here in just a few minutes. At one point today, some of the biggest names in golf were paired up, or actually in groups of 3. And the one quote was, "It looks like Saturday at my clubhouse. Guys going OB right, in the water left, can't find their golf balls embedded in the sand. Rounds of golf that are on pace to take probably 5.5 to 6 hours, the way things are going down in South Carolina. But what a golf course and what a tournament this promises to be here. Guys are really battling, and the golf course so far seems to be winning as the leaders right now only at -3. That's a good thing. We don't want. I'm not a big fan when the scores get up to -15, -20. I like when the golf course kind of humbles the golfers, and that is indeed happening in the early part of day one of the PGA Championship. We will take a quick timeout. When we come back, Matt Fontana will join us. You are listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, underway on a football Thursday. Jason Gibbs with you. This is Cleveland Browns Daily. The video stream is up. It's working. It's presented by our great friends at Buffalo Wild Wings. And coming up at 1:30, Andrew Gribble will join us. We'll take your questions at Browns_Daily using the hashtag AskGribble. We're also brought to you today by our great friends at the Ohio Lottery. Obsessing over something like football can be a problem, but if you're obsessing over gambling, that can be downright dangerous. So do something to take your mind off it, like finding a hobby. Want more tips like this? Go to keepitfunohio.com for great ways to keep gambling fun. Gibbs, Nick Paulus spinning the dials. Joined now by Matt Fontana, host of ESPN Cleveland Tonight. You're officially a host. I'm officially
it's all
old.
your fault. It really is all your fault. You started it. You started it. You hired me. That was anybody wants to take it out, you take it out on Gibbs. And I knew you had demo tapes somewhere. I knew you weren't going to let those go.
I still have them.
I know you do.
I debated it this morning when everything was getting screwed up this morning, and Bishop was texting me. He's like, I don't think I'm making it today.
So
like, well, we could just play Fontana's demo tape.
Just do it. I found a bunch of my old sports centers. So, like, when I first started, Gibbs, I think most people, Gibbs hired me at Good Karma Brands. And back in the day, we used to do sports centers. It was 30 and 60 and updates. And I listened. I was cleaning out one of our old folders, Gibbs. I found some. I listened back, and I was like, oh, my gosh, did I suck. I was like, holy cow. I go, who let this guy on the air? I'm like, oh, it was me. And I was like, okay, I can only hope I've improved, but just listening back to old sports, it's so fun. It's like looking at old pictures. Like when people look back, they go, oh, my God, what was I doing with my hair? Or what clothes were I wearing? That's the radio version of that as guys go back and listen to their demo tape. I'm like, oh, man, this guy was horrible.
Well, you have come a long way, young grasshopper.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Very proud of you.
And
wouldn't be now you have your own show at 5 o'clock, which I listened to on the way home. What was I gonna? I had a question in my head and I totally just lost it. That's how this day's going.
That's how. Well, it's all right.
Yeah, exactly. We have plenty of time. ECT 5 to 7, and a host of other things. I know you do stuff with Drennan. I know you,
all bets. All bets are on Friday, Saturdays.
There you go. And I know you've got a little podcast action with Mr. Grossi.
I do, the Daily Grossi, for free at thelandondemand.com every day. Check that out.
I'm getting it all in. Fish, I'm getting it all in. We're promoting everything for you.
Friday night football frenzy / Friday night high school hysteria, depending. Hopefully we'll be back out.
I was going to say, is that coming back? I hope it is.
I would hope so. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And last year, with the pandemic, Gibbs knows as well as anybody, like the height of like high school hysteria. We were at every game. We had people at so many games, but we had to find a new way with the pandemic because they wouldn't let even media in. So we had a little experimentation of what we called Friday Night Football Frenzy, where it was a 3-hour show with high school scores, with high school updates, but we would talk Browns and Ohio State and really all football. So I thought it was a very interesting mix, but Gibbs, you know as well as I do, there's nothing like calling a game on Friday night and the impact and, when you got a close game for playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to see what we have on the docket for this fall.
All right. What I'm excited about is May 20th, 2021, and we have major championship golf going on.
I love it.
And I cannot stand the fact that the Masters, I can't watch it anywhere until 2 o'clock.
Right.
I can only watch certain highlights or, now this year you can finally watch some featured groups and whatnot. ESPN, bright and early this morning, live golf. ESPN Plus, live golf all day. And the course, my friend, Rory McIlroy has been in the sand and in these little grass pop-up things as much as I was when I played Myrtle back in March, except that when I played, it was 40 degrees with a 20-mile-an-hour wind and rain. A beautiful day, and the golf course owning the golfers, which I thoroughly love, and I'm sure
who does
as a fellow golfer, you enjoy the same.
I do. Gibbs, would you believe that they let me on that course? I've been there. Now, I didn't play it because I found out what the going rate was, and it didn't have quite $700 to go play it, but the family took a trip to Kiowa. I played another course at Kiowa. It's called Turtle Points, one of the sister courses. And I said, well, come on, we're at Kiowa. I have to go to the ocean course. So we went there. We stood on 18. We watched some people finish their day up, got a drink. Gibbs, that course is so awesome. But the thing is, and I was talking to Drennan about it because Drennan's played it, it's the wind. That the way that course is laid out, it's just a strip right up against the beach where the 1-9 goes out to the one way, the other 9 goes out the other way. So you're dealing with the wind on pretty much every hole. So I'll be interested to see how these morning guys go. Like Rory didn't have a great start and some of these other guys, if the wind dies down or picks up and the difference in that. But, yeah, it's so interesting to watch these guys, like you said, get a little humbled where, they miss a fairway. They're so good. They hit a trick shot here and there. There's guys struggling to get out of the bunkers today, and I go, welcome to how I feel in Northeast Ohio trying to get out of the sand.
It has been thoroughly entertaining to watch. I think Rory just went back into something, unless they're showing that from earlier. The greens are crazy fast.
Yeah.
It is fun to watch. Do you have a golfer these days that you're a big fan of?
You know, I am a Dustin Johnson fan. I don't think he's going to win this weekend to see, it'd be nice to see Morikawa go back-to-back, and I know he's up on the leaderboard too. It's kind of funny where I think I have more golfers I root against. I don't like Bryson DeChambeau, so I don't really want to see him win.
You don't like Zegura's guy?
No, man, I don't know. There's something about him. I don't know if it's he's not even like an arrogant guy, but he kind of is.
He's a villain.
Yeah, him. I don't like Patrick Reed. He always seems to be breaking rules left and right, so I don't want to say cheater, but I'm not a big fan of him either. But there are some guys I root against. It's fun to watch because when you see guys up on the leaderboard, like Martin Laird, we recorded All Bets Are On earlier today. Gibbs, that guy's 500-1 to win, and he's on the leaderboard. Now, it's early in the first round, I know, but still, like, there's some Vegas bettors out there going, hey, man, I'm going to throw down $20 on this guy, see if I could cash in.
Yes, absolutely. He's at -3. He's leading.
Yeah.
He and Keegan Bradley, both at 3 under. Those are
Bradley
your leaders.
had the turn. Yeah, and he had the turnaround. He's played better the last couple of months. He really hasn't done much since he won that PGA years ago now. But over the last couple of months, I keep seeing him late in tournaments, final round. I think he might have won recently, too, within the last calendar year. So probably should see maybe that guy coming, that he's up there. But, the leaderboard right now, yeah, you have Stuart Sink up there, Cameron Tringali, waiting for some of those stars to get up there. I'm sure the PGA is waiting.
All right, we're taking a look around the sports world with Matt Fontana here on Cleveland Browns Daily. Andrew Gribble coming your way in about 10 minutes from right now. Fontana, are you rooting for LeBron and the Lakers? Or do you even care about the NBA?
I did. I watched last night, and it was
Can't
so.
believe you're rooting for him. Shame.
I'm not rooting for him. I'm not rooting against him. It was just a fun game to watch. I don't know if I could root for Steph Curry and the Warriors just because of everything. So really, I was watching that game last night, not really caring the outcome, which is a different way to watch a lot of sports because you watch and you go, okay, am I rooting for this team or not? I got to tell you this, Gibbs, the one thing, and I know State of Ohio is working on it, when legalized sports betting gets here, that would get me interested. If I had a few credits on it, maybe I'd really turn and see, I'd really have a rooting interest. But I watched that game last night, not really caring who won. So for me to watch Steph Curry hit those insane shots, LeBron getting poked in the eye. By the way, who else would have poked him in the eye but Draymond Green? So, of course, that had to happen.
Of course. Would you expect anything less?
No. And he hit the shot. He said, did you hear him after the game, though? He said, there were 3 rims, so I just shot at the middle one. I'm like, okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Movie script over here type stuff. But it was a fun game to watch. It was, and I really didn't have a rooting interest because I really think the Warriors are going to win tomorrow night. So I always felt like the Lakers and Warriors are going to be 7-8 no matter what.
All right. Corey Kluber throws a no-no last night for the Yankees.
I'm so happy for him because he's a Hall of Famer. You don't win 2 Cy Youngs and not make the Hall of Fame. He'll be in my opinion. So when you talk about Hall of Fame guys, World Series ring is number 1, but there wasn't much missing on his resume except a no-hitter. He's now got that, cross that off the list, bona fide Hall of Famer. And the fun thing is, Gibbs, he's going to go in as a Cleveland Indian. He won those 2 Cy Youngs. I wish he would have got a no-hitter during his time here. But it's crazy to think that there are so many amazing pitchers that don't have one. And this year where you've got the 6, 5 of those guys, really 4 of them, Rodon and Corey Kluber are the 2 best guys to throw that. You got Wade Miley and you've got Spencer Turnbull, guys that you never really hear of throwing no-hitters. So no-hitters are not necessarily a indicator of skill, but Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, Nolan Ryan, those guys have multiple. So I'm glad that Kluber got that just to kind of scratch that off his career list. And really, I think Gibbs cement himself as a surefire Hall of Famer.
Interesting. Even though he wasn't a great playoff pitcher.
No, and that, like I said, the one thing is the World Series. If we would have been able to get it in 2016, I think without a doubt, he would have done it. And you're right, he's gotten shelled in his few playoff things, but I think now that he's got a no-hitter and the 2 Cy Youngs, he'll be maybe not a first ballot, but I think for sure he'll be a Hall of Famer one day.
All right. So my question to my guys yesterday on the show
Yeah.
Came from CBSSports.com. And they did a piece, the 4 burning questions regarding the AFC North. They had a burning question for each team going into the season. And their question was lame. It was, will Baker Mayfield win the division championship, win the AFC North?
Hot. That's
So
hot. Kid.
I was
burning,
like, okay,
burning question.
We can do better than this.
Right.
So my question to you is, what is the one burning question you have regarding this football team as we get ready for 2021?
I'm going to go with, can Joe Woods put it all together? I think he has so much talent. He has so many players, but he's got a lot of guys with skill sets that he's never coached before. John Johnson, Troy Hill, Greg Newsome, Jadeveon Clowney, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He brings in they bring in Anthony Walker, Malik Jackson, Malik McDowell on that defensive line. There's a lot of new faces. Grant Delpit, who he didn't get to coach last year. Greedy Williams, who he didn't get to coach last year, but at least has a little bit of familiarity with it. Gibbs, can he put it all together? Because that's, I think, one of the underrated parts of this season. He's got it all, but you got to find the right way to use these guys. You've got guys with specific skill sets. I feel like Liam Neeson in Taken, right? I've got a very particular set of skills. He's got guys that have that. So can he maximize those? Can he find the right rotations? Because I think this defense, it's not going to be the same 11 guys just out there. You always have defensive rotation just for guys getting a blow, getting a break. But he's got the luxury of changing things up, every single play. You could see a couple new guys out there. So finding the rotations, finding the skill sets, and finding the scheme. Because last year, I think we saw glimpses of it. But it was pretty clear this offseason that was a need. He went to Andrew Berry and said, these are the kind of guys that I need. And Andrew Berry went on a shopping spree, right? And hopefully got all the right guys. You got them, but you still got to put it together, right? You still got to find the right way to get things done. You talked about, I've heard, Nathan and Beau, and you talk about the statistics about how much he really wanted to run dime. What is it, 40 times last year? And he wants to run it 300 this season? That's quite a jump. You can't just do that overnight. So really, my biggest burning question is, Gibbs, can Joe Woods put it together? And I will say yes. I've got confidence in him. I believe 100% that he can, but there's a lot of work that's got to be done for sure.
All right, one final quick one, and I'll get you out of here because I know you're getting ready for your show later on today. What is the current drink of choice for Matt Fontana?
So I know you guys, I believe, have talked about Char Whiskey Bar and Grill. Big fan of Gabe. And I got that Weller Full Proof out there, Gibbs. Oh, my. I'm not very much – I'm not to Beau's level. Beau's like a savant. Like he could teach a doctorate class on bourbon and whiskey. I'm like a level 200 class. I'm like a sophomore when it comes to it. It's the best that I've ever had. So I don't have it often – but Gabe still has some. So, like, when Steph and I, my wife, when we get takeout, I go, you got to throw me 2 ounces of that Weller Full Proof in there. It is to die for. So that's got to be on the bourbon side of it. That's it. On the beer side, the Haze Craft from Great Lakes. That's my new favorite. That is the beer to go to right now. So it is summertime, and hopefully we'll be on a patio enjoying, because there's nothing like a patio beer.
Amen.
Let me ask you. Golf course beer, patio beer, boat beer. You got to rank those 3.
Patio always number 1.
All right.
Golf course 2. I'm on a boat on occasion. I'm not on a boat very often. So
that's fair.
I got to put boat at the end. I know between you and your brothers, the boating fun never ends.
Boats a lot of fun.
I'm sure your brothers are all not working today, and they're all out fishing anyways.
I just got the text message. They're launching at 5:30, and I was like, "Do you guys know what I do at 5:30?" And I'm like, "All right, good luck. They're going to catch some bait today, actually, so they'll be hanging out this evening. So if you're out at Chippewa tonight, you'll see the Fontanas."
Yeah, there's a shock, my friend. I appreciate it. I thank you for hopping on, and continued success, and look forward to hearing you later on today. What are you talking about real quick later on today?
We will probably talk a little bit of LeBron. If people still root for, against him, or don't really care, we'll talk about that. And then also, I think it's pretty interesting, Gibbs. Does baseball have a no-hitter problem? Or do people think it's fine? Is there an issue? So we'll talk a little bit about that at ECT 5 o'clock. And hopefully the next time we talk, we'll be on a patio enjoying a beer, because that is both our number one, is a patio beer. Cannot be beat.
Amen, my friend. All the best. Give my best to your beautiful bride, and we'll talk soon.
Same to you. We'll talk to you soon, Gibbs.
All right, that's Matt Fontana, host of ESPN Cleveland Tonight. Up next, Andrew Gribble will join the program. Tweet us your questions at Browns_Daily. Use the hashtag AskGribble. Gribbs is up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. A reminder, that last segment with Matt Fontana and a look around the sports world, those are Ohio Business Machine's hot topics of the day. OBM, preferred copier provider. The Cleveland Browns, who have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. To the hotline we go. So Andrew Gribble and I, we have a little fun back and forth with one another. Not only are we the co-host of the best podcast available, but usually every time I have Gribble on the show here on Cleveland Browns Daily, it's a good 5 minutes behind where we normally have him slotted, in part because my guys just don't go to break and they like to talk and roll through the stop sign. So what did I do today? I rolled right through the stop sign. And at 1:37, I'm having Gribble on when I was supposed to have him on at about 1:30, 1:32. Gribs, how are you? Sorry about that. I'm dumb.
Gibbs just stole my thunder because I was literally going to mention that because I think it was you have no one to blame but yourself this time. So
yeah, normally I'm standing here waving like a madman in the window trying to get everybody to go to break, and it never happens on time. And today, that's all me. So my sincere apologies, my friend. Are you off today or are you working today?
No, I'm working. It is funny, though. This is a true story. Back in my previous life covering Alabama, there was a radio show I used to do regularly that would always regularly call me 8 minutes after they were supposed to. And I think the one time I finally just reached my breaking point where they called me, I think 15 minutes late, and I just didn't answer. I was done with the show at that point. So it's the punctuality. Be glad you're in my good graces, Gibbs.
Gribble, I will never – if it gets to 15 minutes, I will text you and I will tell you that we will call you another day and another time and beg for your apologies. So,
no, it's all good. It's all good.
My friend, new BPA is out today. You and I joined by rookie running back Demetric Felton from last week's rookie minicamp. Make sure you check that out wherever you get your podcasts or watch it on youtube.com/Browns. Gribble, we had a 1-hour rookie minicamp, and you and I broke it down on the best podcast available that's out today. I won't ask you a whole lot about it. Is there one rookie, though, that you are most excited to see when everybody gets together, when we get some pads on, and this starts to look like a regular practice in preparation for the 2021 season after what you saw on Friday?
Yeah, I think the easy answer to me is it's Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And I think that with him, it's just a matter of how he's used, how he fits. Because I think he really does look the part. I think he honestly, based on all the coverage we did of him before the draft, I thought he was a little bit bigger than I was maybe expecting for everyone talking about how undersized he was at the position. But now I want to see him with all the other linebackers and see what goes on now that he is in the mix there and what kind of role they have for him moving forward. And if it depends on the different defenses they have out there where he fits in certain spots. I just think there's so much intrigue around him, whereas obviously Greg Newsome, your top pick in the draft, it just sounds like he's going to be in a straight-up competition for a starting job. With Owusu-Koramoah, it's just the versatility and the amount of different ways they can use him and maybe how he looks from a size standpoint when stacked up around maybe some more traditionally sized linebackers out there.
Yeah, I definitely think how they will use him. I think how a guy like Demetric Felton or Anthony Schwartz, how they fit into things, especially on the special team side of things, because I think if those two are going to see some playing time, it's probably going to start on that special team side of things.
Yeah, and I think when you watch Anthony Schwartz in person, the speed is for real. I mean, the guy just operates at a different level of even like coasting. When he's coasting out there, it's a kind of an effortless speed that clearly is some God-given talents that he has at that position. But yeah, again, it's like the creativity and what they can do with him. I mean, we even saw it last year in the preseason during training camp with the amount of different ways they were using a guy like JoJo Natson with reverses, jet sweeps, all that stuff like that. Now you have another player that can do that type of stuff while also learning the nuances of the wide receiver position. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be someone to watch as well.
You know, talking with Andrew Gribble, Brown senior staff writer, we talk about the linebacker room. We talk about the corners. We even today on the best podcast available, we talk a lot about that defensive tackle room and all the new additions over there. The safety room's pretty loaded up now too, and we had Richard LeCount on yesterday on Cleveland Browns Daily in an exclusive one-on-one with Nathan. And here's a kid coming out of Georgia, had the freak accident, and it definitely hampered his ability to move up, I think, in the draft this year. But he's here in camp. He's a safety, and it's another body in that room that I think could be just as competitive a room as any to watch here in 2021.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because we're under the assumption that we're just going to see a lot of free safety looks. And then I think that makes it clear. You think about Delpit, Ronnie Harrison, and obviously John Johnson III is the guy that's probably not going to come off the field very much because he never came off the field when he was with the Rams. So we're just kind of going in assuming you're going to see a lot of free safety looks, but it might not always be the case. And so that you wonder who is the true number 2 guy along with John Johnson III and then how you mix the other guys in. Shelbrick Redwine is another one player to watch from that room. But, yeah, LeCount's interesting to me because he's got the 5-star recruit pedigree, so clearly has been on people's radar for a while. Super productive player at Georgia with a lot of interceptions, a lot of big hits, things like that. But then again, his draft stock really did take a hit with the pro day workouts and things like that. So he's someone that maybe not your typical 5th rounder if you're able to get maybe him back to full speed, back to the athletic traits that has made him someone people have been paying attention to all the way back to when he was 16 years old. So I think that he's someone that's certainly interesting, but he's entering a situation where you don't need him to make immediate defensive contribution. I think he's going to be someone, again, he's going to be someone you watch on special teams right away, and then you see where he can fit in there as well.
Talking with Andrew Gribble, Brown Senior staff writer and co-host of the best podcast available with yours truly. You can also hear him on the Browns radio network throughout the football season. Gribbs, that's a quick look at rookie minicamp. For the rest of it, you can check out this week's best podcast available. Demetric Felton also joins us on the podcast there. The question I'm asking everybody today is the question that came up yesterday with Beau and Nathan from CBSSports.com. And it was, what is your one burning question for the Cleveland Browns as they get ready for the 2021 season? CBSSports.com said, can Baker Mayfield lead the Browns to the AFC North Championship? I thought they could have done a little bit better, frankly, with that burning question. So my question to you is, what is your one burning question as of today, May 20th, 2021, knowing that we're 2 months away from training camp and we've got mini camp in there and a lot that can happen between now and the end of July? What is your one burning question for this football team?
Yeah, and I hope I'm not being redundant from what they said yesterday because I wasn't listening, but I would say that to me it's how quickly can you get all these new pieces on defense to come together. And I think that's something that is clearly going to be important. And obviously the emphasis has kind of gone up a notch with opening with the Chiefs. I just think that is such a huge thing because when you look at last year, the offense had a lot of new pieces on it and a new offensive staff and things like that, new play calling, everything like that. And you really didn't see that unit come together fully until the second half of the season. I think you hope to avoid that with the defense. I think you want to come out as good as you possibly can and then hopefully get better and better as the season goes on. But I think it's going to be a matter of how much does this injection of talent and kind of just more depth, things like that, how much does that materialize week one when you need it to against the best offense, frankly, of this generation in the NFL? I think that it's a truly tough test week one, and I imagine whatever version of the Browns defense we see week one will not be as good as the one we see mid to late through the season. But can you get good enough fast enough? And I think that's going to be the big point of emphasis for a defense that really you've got new starters everywhere and new players that are going to play a lot of different snaps. And the one constant is your defensive play caller and Joe Woods, and then kind of your stars with Miles and Denzel Ward out there.
Yeah, I think I like – and this is what I've told people about the schedule in week one with Kansas City. Like, Kansas City, yeah, they've got most of their big pieces back on offense, but it's still week one. And you still have to you have a brand new offensive line. You've got some major adjustments on their defense that they've had to make. Like, there's gonna be a feeling out period there, and we really don't know how teams are gonna play their main guys in the preseason games, especially now with one less preseason game. We really don't know what to expect with Kansas City, so it might be good to get them early in the football season. And you know, I get that everybody says, well, the Browns, we don't expect them to be perfect right off the bat in week one, but how close to perfect can they be? And I think it's something worth watching. I think all these teams in the preseason, with 3 preseason games, and how they handle playing their starters is going to be really, really interesting to watch.
Yeah, and you saw it last year. I mean, you looked at when the Browns opened with the Ravens. The Ravens were a well-oiled machine from the previous year offensively, and honestly, the Ravens of Week 1 offensively were maybe better than they were later in the season. They seemed to get a little worse from that point. And I think the Browns, you're going to hope to ascend. I think the Chiefs are obviously probably going to go through a little bit of growing pains early with that new offensive line. I mean, we even saw it last year with the Browns offensive line when it was redone. It took a little bit to really get rolling and kind of become one of the best units in the league. So I think, I don't know, I go back and forth on when I want to get the Chiefs. Do I want to get them when they're early working out the kinks, or do I want to get them later in the year when there's a chance that some of their stars might be out, you know, with an injury or something like that? It's an impossible question because they're just such a really good team. And it honestly, I think with the way they lost the Super Bowl last year, I dare say they're like slightly underrated now in terms of what they've been able to accomplish these last 2 years. I mean, they've just been a dominant team in the league with the best quarterback. So it's a tough matchup week 1, but clearly a huge test for a brand new defense of the Browns.
Yeah. All right, time to get Gribble some mailbag questions. We've been asking for them all morning at Browns_daily using the hashtag AskGribble. Gribs, here we go. Nick tweets at the show. Nick Stuckert. Which second-year player are you expecting to step up the most / make the biggest impact here in 2021?
So I'm going in a different direction with this one than I might have been assumed. I'm going to pick a guy like Harrison Bryant. I think that he is, as this number 2 / 3 tight end in this offense, he had a really good rookie year. I mean, the best rookie year of any tight end in the league last year. And I just think tight end is a position that's really hard to make an impact as a rookie. So I think another full year under his belt, another full year in the offense, getting bigger in the weight room, blocking, all that stuff. I expect him to take a pretty big leap, and that maybe is a testament to what I saw from Jedrick Wills. I think he's going to be very good as well. But I think Harrison Bryant can really see a jump in his receiving stats and things like that.
All right, Adam Segui had tweeted at the show. He had asked a question about guys on the bubble. Too early to even speculate or talk about that, but whose stock is – give me a player whose stock is up as we get ready for mini camp and training camp, and give me a player or a position, for that matter, who needs to step up.
Stock up is a tricky one, but I'll go with someone like I'll go with Greedy Williams / Troy Hill, guys like that, because I think you drafted Greg Newsome, but still not a ton of other movement at that position. So I think that's a positive way to look at where Greedy Williams stands in the mix. I would expect him to be someone that that is going to come back, compete for a role, and even if he doesn't win that starting job against Greg Newsome, I think he's going to have a role in this defense. So I think a lot of people, with how he was out last year, I think he's someone to keep an eye on, because you got Troy Hill in the slot, but Greg Newsome's really your only new body at that outside cornerback spot. So that tells me that Greedy Williams figures to be very much in the mix this year. I think the step up to me is any of the returning defensive tackles on this team. And that includes a guy that didn't play last year, Andrew Billings, but clearly they've addressed this position in a significant way, going from 4 players to 8 players in a 1-week span. And I think that competition is wide open. So a player like a Jordan Elliott, who I imagine wants to see more playing time than what he had last year. I mean, he was a key rotational player. He's going to have to go out and earn it. They're not just going to hand him a starting role because he was the 3rd-round pick last year. I mean, he's going to have to compete with a number of players who have played significant snaps in the league. A Damian Square, who's been in the league for 9 years. I mean, Malik Jackson. There's a lot of players at that defensive tackle spot. So Jordan Elliott is a guy that's going to have to make a leap in year 2 to maybe take over a job we might have assumed was his when this team only had 4 defensive tackles, but now it's got 8.
Ned Fox Plimpton, our good friend and listener of the program. Once James Hudson is up to speed, do you think he'll be more apt to play a specific position, i.e. left tackle, swing tackle, or mimic the versatility of Chris Hubbard?
I mean, it's a big ask to get a guy playing multiple spots on the offensive line right away, especially if he only played one spot in college. I remember James Hudson was a defensive tackle to begin his college career. So this is someone that I think you want to get him in your system and learning, get good at one spot, and then let's test out the versatility. I do think he has potential as a guard in the future as well, but I think year one you get him in a good spot as a tackle and then see what you can do moving forward. But we'll see. I mean, the more you can do on the offensive line, that's the way you hang around in this league for a long time.
All right, here's a good one. Their Twitter handle is You Embarrass Me One. So I don't know how you came up with that, but I'm intrigued by it. Are the practice squad and injured reserve rules the same this season as last season? Good question.
It's a tough one, and I honestly don't know the specific answers, so don't quote me on this, but I'm under the impression, at least of the injured reserve, that it goes back. I think. You might know this better than I do, Gibbs. I think that this stuff is still fluid.
I agree.
If I'm going to be correct, I think it's still negotiable. So I particularly personally loved the new injured reserve rules and hope they stick around. But we'll see. I mean, that was a huge change in where the NFL has come a long way in the last few years, where you used to only get one of these guys. Then it moved up to a couple, and then you changed it to 3 weeks. And I thought that was a game changer. I'm all for keeping those injured reserve rules, and I'm all for keeping the practice squad rules as well. Though with that, you just might not need it as much this year without guys going in and out with COVID protocols. But the one rule that is here to stay, I know for sure, is that rule on game day with bringing guys up. That was a pre-COVID rule change that was going into effect. So that's one that was in the works, where you can bring up the extra bodies on game day. But the other ones, we'll have to wait and see and find out.
Yeah, I definitely think it's fluid. I was trying to look it up myself after I saw that question, and I'm like, I can't find anything. But, again, there are meetings happening daily with the league, with the owners, and things being passed around and trying to figure out exactly what the landscape's going to look like when we hit the practice field in late July. One more question. You have a fan in Luke Sell. I want to know what sports Gribbs played in high school and if he was any good. You guys talk nonstop about how he is a man of many talents and traits. Tell me more about him. Gribbs, you're a pretty athletic guy.
Yeah, this is bringing up some bad memories. I mean, this is going to get emotional here, I feel like. But I'll start by making some excuses. I went to a massive high school, where in Strongsville, where I graduated with a class of, I believe, 715 people. So there's a lot of people. So that's my excuse of saying I wasn't good enough to make any of the high school teams. I played middle school, everything. I played recreational, everything. I was a jack of all trades, master of none when it came down to making these high school teams. But I would say I was by far the best, probably at basketball, soccer, and then baseball. So I was a 3-sport guy that just wasn't able to play any of those sports at the varsity level in high school. But I continue to play them, at least basketball for sure.
But I in Gribble's defense, how many marathons have you run?
I've not run marathons, half marathons.
Half marathons. How many half marathons have you run?
I'd say about 6.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Gribble's done that like in the last 10 years. Gribble is a very athletic guy for his age.
I've peaked late, I would say. I was definitely not a guy that peaked in high school athletic.
No, but like you play golf, you run. I believe you might run with some of the scouts in a little hoop action. Come on,
yep.
You no shame in the game, my friend.
No, yeah, I definitely. I can play a lot of sports. I just didn't play them well enough at the high school level.
Yeah, that's a minor detail.
So I could do flag football. I can do a lot of different things. So I've got enough. You invite me to an event that involves a sport, I'm showing up and at least representing myself well. That's the position I've put myself in as a 35-year-old adult.
Gribbs, Appreciate the time, my friends. And we've got about 3 or 4 more episodes of the BPA before we go on our little summer break. We'll be back for training camp, but make sure you check out the latest installment of the best podcast available. Running back Demetric Felton joins Gribbs and I, and a complete breakdown of rookie mini camp weekend. Gribbs, enjoy the rest of the week and the weekend. We will talk soon, my friend.
All right, take care, guys.
All right. That's Andrew Gribble, Browns senior staff writer. We'll take a timeout. When I come back, Gerard Cherry joins me for all of hour number 2. Mike Clay from ESPN will join us as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, back here with you on Cleveland Browns Daily. We're brought to you by Elk and Elk. Serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for your free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Jason Gibbs in for Zegura and Bishop. Happy to be joined for hour 2 by 3-time Super Bowl champion Gerard Cherry and the co-host of The Next Level with Emmett Golden that immediately follows this program on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Gerard, my man, how are you?
I am doing excelente, Gibbs. How are you holding it down, dog?
Dude, you know what? Just another day in paradise, you know? Bishop woke up this morning. He's like, the back. The back is an issue. I said, well, that's going to be a big problem. I don't know if you're going to be able to do 1 o'clock. And when he told me he was unable to do a couple other things today, I was like, yep, all right, let's go to the bullpen. And let's bring in the champions off the bench here to help me out. So I appreciate you stepping in. Not that you're ever on the bench, but not a daily host on this show.
That. I've learned, hey, if you're on a team, that's a start.
I like the way you think. And with that, let's go right to the hotline. Joined by our good friend, the prognosticator from ESPN.com. You've heard him on the best podcast available. You've heard him on Cleveland Browns Daily a lot. His latest article is out on ESPN.com, Why the Cleveland Browns Are Legitimate Super Bowl Threats in 2021, 7 Reasons They Could Emerge in the AFC. Mike Clay joins us on the hotline. Mike, my friend, how the heck are you?
Hey, guys, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing about as well as Cleveland Browns fans are doing right now, I think, if they at least sit down and take a look at the current roster. I mean, I'm pretty fired up about the team for this season, and it's been a long time, right? I mean, it has to have been a long time since fans can be legitimately this high on this Browns team.
Yeah, no, I
totally
agree with you, and it's pretty crazy. And I know that you were pretty excited when I had you on the best podcast available. On the article, you listed 7 different reasons. What was your number 1 reason if you had to go and number them?
Yeah, so and you're speaking to my ESPN Plus article recently talking about why I think the Browns are legitimate Super Bowl contenders this year. And, the first one is, I talk about the Pepsi Challenge. You guys remember the Pepsi Challenge from, I guess it's still going on, maybe once in a while, right, where you taste test Pepsi against Coke and you just blindly pick your favorite soda. And, of course, Pepsi was making the point that more people prefer Pepsi. Well, I use that as an example of that's what you should do with NFL teams, right? Who cares about how good a team was 10 years ago or 5 years ago or even last year? All that matters is the players on the roster right now. So put on the blindfold, just forget about the team, forget about the history, focus on the current roster talent and current coaching situation. And if you do that and you study all 32 rosters, you're going to come away with the Browns at or near the top of your power rankings.
And I agree with that assessment because when you look at the Browns on paper, you walk away from experience saying, how can they not win? But as you dig deeper, as you did in your article, I look at the offense and I say, A-OK, everything's great because you have a lot of playing experience right there. But when you flip to the defensive side, you obviously feel that the moves made on via free agency as well as the draft were enough. But what really stands out to you as far as what they did on defense?
Yeah, a lot. I'm actually working on another column right now where I go through the biggest positional upgrades made, the top 25 in the NFL, biggest positional upgrades. And the Browns make that 3 times. So,
wow.
They obviously had a heck of an offseason. All 3, of course, were on the defensive side of the ball. The keys are very obvious, right? Edge rush, they had Davian Clowney opposite Myles Garrett. And I get to that. I get into Clowney's recent years in the column. A lot of people are hard on him because the sacks haven't been there and he missed time with the injury last year, but it's overstated, right? The guy still gets a lot of pressure and he hasn't missed as much time as people think, at least prior to last season. So I think that was a huge addition, as is Tack McKinley as a third. I mean, he's been a great, in terms of pass rush win rate, he's been terrific in that department throughout his career. So you put those guys with Myles Garrett and you have one of the best edge rushing rooms in the NFL. Corner, you bring in Troy Hill, who can play inside and outside, was near the top of the NFL and covered snaps last year for the best defense in the NFL. And what a weapon he is to go along with Greg Newsome and perhaps Greedy Williams if he's back. So you throw in one of the best corners in the NFL in Denzel Ward and you're stacked at corner. And then safety. I just talked about the Rams defense. How about maybe their best player on defense, the side of Aaron Donald, John Johnson? You know, the Browns bring him in to solidify the safety position. Could have Grant Delpit as well if he's able to play off the injury. So a terrific potential in the secondary. The edge rushing group is great. And guys, you know, there's certainly questions at off-ball linebacker and at defensive tackle. There's no doubt about it, especially with no Sheldon Richardson up front. But you have options there. You have depth. You have Andrew Billings. You have Malik Jackson, who was a star player for that dominant Jags defense a few years ago. You have Jordan Elliott, who they like as a young day 2 pick. And then, of course, they brought in a whole bunch of bodies at off-ball linebacker. So a lot of competition will go on at that spot. I think they can get 1 or 2 solid players from that group. And that may be all they need, because they're going to use, I think, a lot of 3 safety sets in order to get Ronnie Harrison on the field.
Talking with Mike Clay from ESPN, our good friend. His latest column is out, Why the Cleveland Browns Are Legitimate Super Bowl Threats in 2021, 7 reasons for that. You talked about the defense, and you talked about the new additions, a couple other new additions. Greg Newsome and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Where do you see them fitting in here on this defensive roster? Even Tommy Togiai, for that matter, at defensive tackle.
Yeah, and he may play quite a bit, right? Because, like I said, you know, you mentioned 2 players, 2 rookies at 2 positions that are maybe the only 2 below average or perhaps weak spots on the roster, right? So there's a lot of options there, and the rookies, if they're legitimate, if they're hits, they can play a big role right away and make an impact. So there's no question about that at those 2 spots. And then as for Newsome, you know, if Greedy Williams comes back, and, you know, he was, you know, he had his ups and downs as a rookie, but, you know, you expect that from a rookie corner. You know, if he comes back healthy and he's able to make an impact, that takes some pressure off Newsome, right? He doesn't necessarily have to be an every down player right away. And he probably won't be regardless, because you have Ward, who we know will play every down, and you have Troy Hill, who can, if they have 2 corners on the field, he'll be on the outside. If they go into nickel, he'll move inside, and they'll put Newsome on the outside with Ward. At least I assume that will be the plan. It certainly makes sense. So, and then of course Williams can rotate in if he's good to go. So that's what I think. I don't necessarily think Newsome will be a 60 snap guy right out of the gate, but he, you know, again, if he's a hit, he's a good player, he's up to the task. He very well could be, and could be an asset in his first season.
And Mike, I love semantics, and I love how you wrote this by saying legitimate Super Bowl threats. But in your mind, what will it take for the Browns to be, or are they one and the same, Super Bowl contenders?
Well, I mean, health is key, right? That's so important in the NFL. I mean, you guys know that. Teams that stay super healthy, like Tampa Bay, for example, last season being an example, Green Bay was another example. Teams that stay healthy, even the Browns were a pretty good example. You know, they had a couple injuries, but for the most part, their guys were out there when it counted. You know, if they stay healthy, that's step 1. That's step 1 for any team in the NFL. Step 2 is Baker Mayfield, right? I mean, He was good in the second half last season. In fact, he's been good in 2 of his 3 NFL seasons. One, I think we've all kind of just want to throw away and forget about, because it was a weird curveball and everything kind of went wrong. So, you know, if we forget about that, he's 2 for 2. And they started to throw the ball more in the second half last season, and that's when we started to see his best football. So as long as that continues, as long as he continues to take a step forward and is a solid or good quarterback, he should be able to carry this roster to Super Bowl contention, because he has the supporting cast, right? He can't come out and get picked off 18 times. It just can't happen. He can't turn the ball over and make constant mistakes and have a low completion percentage. He needs to be a solid or above average quarterback. And then, of course, the other part would be the defense just coming together, right? I mean, they just have – this is a complete overhaul. I think it's, eight of the top 10 in snaps from last season are gone from the roster. So it's an improvement in talent on paper, but we need some chemistry. We need everybody to work well together, and we need a good coaching job to get these guys working well together. If they do that, it's going to be hard for this team to fail.
Talking with Mike Clay from ESPN, you mentioned Baker. We've talked a little bit about the defense. I know it's something in our building that we talk about, and I know Nathan has spent a lot of time addressing it as well, and how important it really is. But the fact that this team returned every member of its coaching staff from a year ago, and having consistency with the coaching staff, and now getting a lot of bodies on defense that fit what Joe Woods and his group wants to do, and having a guy like Kevin Stefanski run the ship after such a crazy year in 2020, getting this entire coaching staff back might be as big a key as anything.
No question about it. And it's not even just the coaching staff that's all back. It's also the whole offensive line. It's the whole offense. Really, I mean, it's all the weapons on offense too. It's really just the defense that they overhauled, and that's smart. That's just managing a team well. It's going into an offseason that's saying, look, our offense is a strength. Our offensive line is the best in the NFL. Let's make sure we keep all these guys around. Our coaches are a strength. Let's keep these guys in-house. Luckily, they didn't have anybody plucked away by any other teams. And our defense is a problem. So let's overhaul. Let's clean house. Let's bring in talent. We have cap money to spend. We have assets we can still utilize. And let's do that and fix the weak spots on this team. And that's what winning teams do, right? They find the positions that matter most. They find weak spots. They fill them. And they're ready for a run. So, and again, that obviously extends to the coaching staff as well. So I thought they had an extremely impressive offseason.
And, Mike, if I was able to look in the future, and I told you from what I saw, Myles Garrett led the league in sacks, and Baker Mayfield threw about 30 touchdowns and had only 4 or 5 interceptions. And I said, guess what the Browns did for that season? What would you say?
Look, if Baker puts up that stat line, they're going to be sitting pretty, right? Turnover ratio is such an underrated part of predicting a team's outcomes. And in fact, the last time I wrote a feature column about the Browns like this was the year after the 0-16 season, and I wrote a column saying they were a 500 team the next year, and people were not, they were rolling their eyes at that. That was a ridiculous premise at the time. But one of the big reasons for that was they went from Kaiser, a quarterback who was an interception machine and turnover machine, to Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield. And we know if Tyrod might not be a big playmaker, but we knew that he was not going to throw interceptions. He did not turn the ball over. And that was a huge reason for that. And sure enough, they went, 7-8-1 that season. That's so important. So if you're telling me he's only going to throw 4 or 5 interceptions, I haven't projected at 11. So if he cuts that in half, improves his touchdown total a little bit, I mean, look out. I mean, we're talking about a team that could win 12, 13, maybe 14 games if things go right this season.
Mike Clay, check out his latest story on ESPN.com, Why the Cleveland Browns Legitimate Super Bowl Threats in 2021, 7 Reasons Why. Mike, appreciate the time as always. Enjoy your late spring, early summer. I guess it's summer because it's 85 degrees here today. So we'll take that for the win. But enjoy. Hopefully you get some downtime, and look forward to talking with you again soon, my friend.
Will do. Thanks a lot, guys. Always fun.
All righty. That's Mike Clay. Make sure you check out his work. Really, really solid at what he does. Follow him on Twitter at Mike Clay, NFL. Gerard and I get a little bit more into this 2021 Browns team when we return. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/Go Browns today. Gibbs in Gerard Cherry in for Beau Bishop and Nathan Zegura today. Zegura on assignment. Beau, a little bit under the weather. Feel better, my friend. The back giving a little issue to our good friend, the Bishop. So we hope that he gets better soon. Right now, from earlier today on Good Morning Football, our good friends Kay Adams, Sean O'Hara, James Palmer, and P. Schrags discussing this question that Gerard and I will react to in just a few moments. Who will win more games in 2021, Baker Mayfield or Matt Stafford?
Yeah.
You guys are down about 5 minutes.
Anticipated in those seasons for two teams that are getting Super Bowl talk. I'm going with Stafford. Look at Stafford's offensive coordinators over his 11 years with Detroit. You'd think there'd be 10 different coordinators. No, it was just 4 guys. But 4 very different offenses. Linehan's the offense is very different than Lombardi's, which is very different than Jim Bob Cooter's, and then Darrell Bevell, of course, the last few years. Now you add in the Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell thing, and you basically say Matthew Stafford's run all sorts of offenses, and he hasn't had the opportunity to work with a coach like this guy yet. So I think it's going to be the combination of so many factors. But I just think McVay has never had a quarterback with the arm like Stafford. Stafford's never had the offensive play caller with the kind of creativity, I would say, of McVay. And then you put it all together, I think they're going to be a really successful team. And shout out to Will Selva, a commitment to this Pitts McGee nickname. He will not let it go for Kyle Pitts. Will, if you're out there somewhere, thank you for keeping it alive. I think it's going to stick.
Will, if you're out there somewhere in the universe, if you can hear me.
That's it, in the heavens.
Fantastic, Peter, fantastic, yes. But I like where you're going. I do think the Rams roster is a little top-heavy. If they lose one of those stars that they have, it could really affect them. I saw what happened when Aaron Donald went down against the Packers in the playoffs and how different that defense is. But that's a great defense. There's some gelling that has to happen on the Browns defense. But I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield, and I think this is a team that's going to win 11, 12 games. Strength of schedule between the two? Well, the Browns are at 9, Rams are at 10. They're right there neck and neck with one another. What jumps out at me is how comfortable Baker Mayfield was getting in this system that seems to fit him so well. You see those final 8 games, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He finished strong. I love that Kevin Stefanski made his guys sit out there, watch the celebration with the Kansas City Chiefs, and use that as motivation this offseason as they come in and start their next season against the Kansas City Chiefs. And the other part about it, Sean, that I really like is you have Odell Beckham Jr. coming back extremely motivated off of an injury. We talked about guys like J.J. Watt that motivate themselves so well. Well, if I could say it, OBJ maybe, comes back extremely motivated, as well as Jarvis Landry. Both guys looking for new contracts as there's not a whole lot of dead money on their deals in 2022 looking to shell out. There's a lot of talent around Baker Mayfield, as well as one of the best offensive lines in football with probably the best 1-2 punch in the backfield to help him out as well.
Yeah, you guys are both making great cases for both teams. I'm with you on Baker and his supporting cast. The offensive line, that 2-headed monster at running back. I'm a little hesitant because the last time we hyped the Browns at this point in time in the season, they fell flat on their face. So I'm hesitant with that. And Shregs, I'm with you with Stafford and the Rams. I think they're, they have unbelievable potential with that offense and with Stafford's arm. But I feel like the NFL, they have the best leveling agent in the entire universe. And for some reason, just the NFL always ends up being upside down. The teams that you think are going to be great end up stumbling. And the teams that you thought, they were kind of under the radar, they end up, leapfrogging these other teams. So I'm going to pull a rabbit out of a different hat here. I'm going to go Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Okay. I think when you look at that team, I go back to last year and, as Kyler Murray was getting better week in and week out, scoring touchdowns, whether he was throwing it, whether he was on the ground. He had 37 touchdowns in all season last year, and 11 of them were on the ground. So he is a dual threat. But that relationship with DeAndre Hopkins, as they started to blossom, as they started to win games, yes, we know about the Hail Murray, but they were 8-6 going into week 16. Had they won one of those games, they would have been in the playoffs instead of the Bears, who got in at 8-8. So I think they are a playoff caliber team. Kyler Murray obviously got hurt against Seattle on Thursday Night Football. That shoulder injury I thought bothered him a lot more than he let on. But when you look at this
30
with the addition of A.J. Green, I wouldn't be shocked if Kyler Murray has more wins than both Matt Stafford and Baker Mayfield. And there you see the additions offensively. James Conner at running back as well. We know how violent he can run. Rondale Moore, an explosive guy. How about Rodney Hudson? How about the pickup from the Raiders to solidify that interior? And then we already talked about J.J. Watt. And I think Malcolm Butler will provide some nice addition to that defense. So give me Kyler Murray, Kay.
Come back.
All right, that's the Good Morning Football crew. P. Schregs, James Palmer, Sean O'Hara, Kay Adams. O'Hara totally taking the segment sideways and going Arizona. Palmer going with the Browns. Schregs going with the Rams. Gerard, it's an interesting debate and it's an interesting conversation, but the Rams lost a ton of their defense, and they lost a good chunk of it to the Browns. And Arizona, I don't think they've got a coach as good as the Rams or the Browns. So I'm not quite sure you can make that argument for either one of those two.
Well, I'll give Sean some credit. He definitely found a way to make his own take interesting and sideways, to say at least, because I'm saying to myself, all right, dog, the producer must have said we need a different angle here, and you provided. You went from acute to obtuse, in my opinion. But with that being said, the Rams are in a situation, well, from a historical standpoint, is Matthew Stafford more proven than Baker Mayfield? Yes, he is. Has he put up much better stats than Baker Mayfield so far in his career? Yes, he has. But Baker Mayfield's only been at it going on 4 seasons. Matthew Stafford's been in it over a decade now. With that being said, you look at the situation with McVay. He's a Super Bowl caliber head coach. Didn't win it, but he got there. There's still going to be an adjustment period with McVay and Matthew Stafford. Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski have an understanding. They spent a season together, and it was a crazy season. So they have that going for them. And like you just alluded to, Jay, when you lose a lot of players on your defense, it doesn't happen right. You snap your finger and it's right back at it. Now, granted, they have one of the best players in the National Football League in Aaron Donald. You have to respect that because he can wreck a whole team by himself. However, when I look at the Browns, I just feel it's a more complete picture, and they have continuity working with them. Well, for the Rams, you don't have that. And in regards to the Arizona Cardinals, yeah, Murray was a good story and all that and then some, but I just wonder again, does that style of play that he plays lend him to being healthy at the end of the season? Because as Sean alluded to, he didn't let on to how hurt his shoulder really was. And offensively, yeah, they got weapons, but again, I'm not counting on A.J. Green. Hopkins, yeah, I could believe in, and obviously Larry Fitzgerald is stable, but he's not the same Larry Fitzgerald of 10 years ago. I won't say of 20 or 15 years ago, but he's obviously still a quality player. So in my mind, the Browns still make the most sense.
I agree 100%. All right, I want to get this one question in here before we get a timeout in. We all can agree, I think, that Baker Mayfield is the biggest key to the Browns' 2021 season. You heard it there, all the talk about Baker. You heard Mike Clay earlier. Who's the number 2, or what's the number 2 biggest key to the Browns' 2021 season, in your opinion?
I think it's an impactful player on defense. I think you really have to have that. I want to say Nick Chubb as my answer, but I'm going to side with defense and say that if you have Baker Mayfield balling, that lets me know the offense is already doing what it needs to do, because the quarterback is not successful without the guys around him showing up and showing out on a regular basis. We already know that. So if we have, be it Myles Garrett, be it someone in the secondary or the linebacker position, straight up balling and have an impact to where they're in the MVP or defense conversation, or for the league for that matter, then I know we're balanced out and that we're wrecking shop. So I have to say, you want a name? I'll go with Myles. That's the easiest name to throw out there. I'll say Myles Garrett. If he's dominating, if he's leading the league in sacks, that means we are doing some major damage.
Agreed. And even if he's getting pressures, that means our secondary's got chances to make plays. And boy, do we need them to step up.
It also means the offense is scoring, Jay.
Yeah.
Think about it. If Myles Garrett's getting sack opportunities, that means the offense is clicking and scoring points, and that's forcing teams in passing situations. Because the way our defense is built, it seems to me that we want you to pass more so than anything, so Myles and company can get after you, and that our DBs can cover you, because we're going to have 5 to 6 on the field on the regular.
Amen to that. All right, let's get a break. When we come back, I posted this question to Fontana, to Gribble. I will post it to Gerard next. The burning question for the Cleveland Browns in 2021. We'll talk about that. We'll go around the league, and we'll get Gerard's thoughts on the Browns' schedule. All that and more as Cleveland Browns Daily rolls on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, back here on Cleveland Browns Daily. Jason Gibbs, 3-time Super Bowl champ and host of The Next Level on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Gerard Cherry with you. Gerard, before we went to break, I asked you to think about it. My question for everyone today. Your burning question regarding the Browns in 2021. I got this totally copied and redone. CBSSports.com had this article out yesterday. They had a burning question, Gerard, for every team in the AFC North. And their question for the Browns was, can Baker Mayfield get the Browns to the AFC North, win the AFC North championship? Thought it was kind of a weak question. I think there are some much better questions. So I'm asking the people that know this team the best, and I ask you, your one burning question for the Browns headed into 2021, sir.
I think it's blatantly obvious, Jay. Was what took place in the offseason regarding drafting defensive players as well as acquiring them via free agency enough to bring the defense to a place to where it is respectable and championship caliber? I think that's the primary issue. I think Baker Mayfield and company are proving that they're proven, and at the second half of the way in which they play football was incredible. I think the biggest question mark on our football team right now is, will this new cast of characters on defense be able to get the job done and balance things out to where we don't have a point differential that's low? So I think that's the biggest question going on right now. Will we be able to dominate on defense? Because if we are able to dominate on defense and we do what I think we're going to do on offense, good night. AFC North, who cares? I mean, yeah, you need to win your division. We talk about that all the time. Win your division, and you should care about that, obviously. But my point being is we got much bigger fish to fry, like an AFC championship and a Super Bowl.
All right, so what's the biggest challenge as a former defensive player? I mean, you're potentially looking at 8, maybe even 9 new starters on the defensive side of the ball. How do you get these guys to gel? What's the biggest challenge to getting this all to work on the defensive side of the football?
It's simply going to be a matter of repetition and really hoping that these guys have a chemistry and a bonding that takes place, and that, one, the coaches are teaching and also doing a thing from a psychological standpoint to get them to believe in an idea that there's something out there to pursue, and if they give their all and do their all, they can go out there and get it and make it about the team. If you can convey that message, if you get guys to buy into that train of thought and dedicate themselves to that for the entirety of a season, that's when those bonding takes place. That's when guys enjoy coming on defense and playing and hating when games end because they're so dominant. So when you get to that place where everything's just clicking, guys understand their roles and embrace it, that's what's going to have happen. But that can only happen through sheer time, and you need the talent, and you also have to just simply have guys who are really hungry. And that's the thing I'm hoping and praying, is that we have guys that are hungry. Because if you have guys that are pacified, Jay, who are just on some, I'm just happy to be here, back in the league, collecting my checks, and really not trying to do anything that requires great effort, and you get merit from it, then we're not going anywhere. But if we have a bunch of guys in which 80 to 90% of them or more are hungry and want that Super Bowl, want that victory on the defensive side, and obviously it has to be a collective with the offense and special teams too, then you have something. A lot of times it only takes 2 or 3 guys who don't really want it, who are just going through the motions and playing for the sake of love, being in the NFL and all the accolades that come along with that. But if you got a bunch of guys that are really hungry and really want to experience what it's like to hoist the Lombardi trophy and have that ring celebration, then you got something.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a gauntlet, and you got to have a little luck, as Mike Clay said. You got to stay healthy. If you can avoid the injury bug, that's a big deal. If you can avoid the COVID bug, whatever that case might look like come the end of July, that's important. And I find it fascinating. My question to you is, if you're that defensive quarterback, the defensive signal caller, everybody says it's got to be the linebacker. Does it have to be the linebacker? Can it be John Johnson III?
No, it doesn't have to be a linebacker. It has to be someone who's in the center of it all and understands and commands respect and also knows what the heck is going on and can relay messages and get guys in order and people want to follow. It does not have to be a linebacker. Now, I wouldn't put a defensive lineman in that spot because they got too much going on from initial contact and they're not getting a full perspective like a safety or a middle linebacker can get. So I think that's what really plays a part in it. But the safety's just, 15, in some cases, yards from the line of scrimmage. He has a greater vantage point, if you want to make an argument, over a middle linebacker as far as seeing what's going on and what they're trying to do. So I say no. If the guy is comfortable making signals and has that look in his eye like, let's take care of business and get guys to buy in and rally, it doesn't matter if he's a safety or a linebacker.
As of now, May 20th, 2021, there will be there's a mandatory mini camp in the middle of June, the week of June 14th. Everybody's supposed to be back in the building. Now, obviously, we know a lot can change. There's a lot going on with the league and whatnot, and we're not gonna dwell on that. But as of now, there's going to be a mini camp in the middle of June. What's the biggest goal that you want as a team and as an organization in that 3 to 4 day period that you've got all the guys in the building and really the last time before you hit the ground running at the end of July?
It's funny I have to preface it. Well, I didn't preface it by just saying it's the one no one gets sick and it doesn't spread like wildfire. That's a start. And then the other part is not getting hurt, but which I guess that would go along with the same mindset of not getting sick. And then from there, Jay, hitting the ground running. That this is a session in which we are putting in some extreme work, and we're out there from an offensive and defensive standpoint competing like we've never competed before. Because this is the stage of the year where you want guys, I mean, ultimately when the season opens, you want guys to come together as one, as a team, and you always want to foster the idea of competition and guys getting after each other. But right now, you really want the angst between the offense and the defense, like, nah, we're getting after you, and now we get it back at you, and creating that level of competition, because that's only going to make you better, especially with the mass of talent that we have.
So if I take a look at this, it's 3 to 4 days. It's really, really important. And, you know, guys, hopefully this will happen and everybody will be here. If not, you know, then they got to start from ground zero at the end of July. It'll be something worth watching and worth seeing. Moving to the NFL schedule, specifically the Browns schedule. You being a player in the league, I know that players, when they're playing, are focused on 1 week at a time, that you can't look ahead and win or lose. You got to get that past week's game out of your head and focus on the coming week, and it's 1 week at a time. But do players look at the whole schedule right now at this time of year? I mean, are they looking for various things?
Heck yeah. For example, if you live in Miami, or if you live in New Orleans, or if you're in Arizona, guess what you're doing? Are we going to Green Bay? Are we going to Chicago? Are we going to Cleveland? Are we going to Pittsburgh? And if so, when? Or New York? Heck yeah, you look at the schedule because you want to know your quote. And if you're up north, okay, are we going to be in Denver? When? Everybody wants to know when they're going to be in Denver. And you're probably saying, why? The first quarter in a game in which you're playing at Mile High, I don't care what level of shape you think you're in. You're not in good enough shape. Your lungs are on fire. So you always want to know that just to get yourself mentally prepared that you're going to have to gut your way through that. So the weather factors and all those things come into play. And also, too, if you have a schedule in which you have the Buccaneers, you have the Browns, you have the Ravens, you have the Chiefs, and you have other top-tier teams on your roster, you want to have to get your mind right for that as well. So you're right. It's week to week once you're in the season, but there is a process in which you have to get yourself mentally ready for the idea that you're going to put your body to the test and stress it. And these are the games in which it's really going to be stressed and tested as well, because these teams are more than likely going to be solid football teams if not great. So you look ahead. You certainly do. And you also get caught up in the idea of, oh, that team's sorry. They're no good. They're not going to do anything. And that's when you really come up short because, as we know, any given Sunday, a team can rise to the occasion.
Yeah, no question. No question about it. All right, put yourself as a member of the Cleveland Browns right now. The schedule comes out. You look through it. What are the first two things? Because I got a feeling I know what the number one thing is you're thinking when that schedule comes out. What's number one and number two?
Well, out the gate, you're playing the Chiefs, and you got something to prove. Last time you saw them on a football field, they won a game in which it was to go to the AFC Championship. So where do you stand? How do you measure yourself? What is the measuring stick in which you're going to say, and it's week one, granted, Jay, 15, 16 weeks later, that might not mean a damn thing. But at this point, it's still the first game of the season, and from a historical standpoint, we haven't done much in winning those openers, so let's change the narrative right there. But the other part of that, too, is just the idea that you're playing one of the best teams regarded as a favorite. Where do I stand? Let's go out there and beat them. Let's build some confidence from this and get used to being in these prime time situations. And then after that, the other part that you have to look at is like, I can't stand the Ravens. We're going to play them back-to-back weeks, essentially, with a bye in between. That's going to be more than likely the game that decides who's going to be the AFC North champion. So getting that right, because again, there's no love lost there, and I'm pretty sure that is going to be heated, and this rivalry is already reignited, and it's going to be explosive come that time period later on in the season.
Okay, first time that we play a divisional game, if I'm just double checking it, is week 8. So all your division games are at the back end of the schedule. That has to be something that raises the radar as well.
Oh, certainly, because coaches constantly say, win the division, win the division, win the division. Yeah, you have to win the division. But like I said earlier in our show, our goals are much bigger than just winning the division. You have to start somewhere, and that's definitely a lofty start. But I have much bigger visions and dreams of what this football team can do. But, yes, winning the division starts, and when you have it on the back end like that, that makes it even more crucial what you do from a week-in, week-out basis in making sure you're taking care of business in the division.
All right, when you played for the New England Patriots, obviously you played in some pretty big games. You played on holidays. Did you ever play on Christmas?
Played on Thanksgiving Day, never played on Christmas. Maybe played Christmas Eve. I'm sure it probably came close. Maybe I did play on Christmas. If it fell on a Sunday, I played long enough to where it would have fell on a Sunday, so I probably did play on Christmas.
What's the mindset you have to have going into, like, if you're a Browns player, like, you're going to be away from your family Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I mean, it's going to be late Christmas night before you get back. And, by the way, you're going to Green Bay in December.
Yeah, well, if you're going to Green Bay in December, it gets colder there, but hell, we deal with cold here. Not to that level of cold, but we still deal with cold. And if Aaron Rodgers is not on their roster, Jay, then good luck for the Green Bay Packers and what that game will represent. Because I'm pretty sure guys might have a mental checkout like, oh, Aaron ain't here. We're about to kill these fools. And you will tell yourself that. But the other part of it is, the hardest part about holiday weeks is that you can get distracted and get caught up in the fanfare and with your family. When you have a job to do, when you have film to study, when you have practice to go to, you can't afford to stay up all night, kick film to the side and say, we got this. I'm going to celebrate with my family members because this is a moment in time I can't get back. But also winning that football game is a moment in time you can't get back. So the hard thing, especially for young football teams and veteran alike, is to stay focused during those weeks and not get caught up in the festivities. And remember that they still have a football season taking place and that every game is so pivotal, and you have to work at it and focus on the games at hand and not get caught up in the distractions of what you're going to eat with Thanksgiving or what presents you're going to open up on Christmas Day.
All right, before we go to break, one final quick question. The Browns rookie you are most excited to see when the pads come on is who?
J.O.K. We'll see, man. Said, you've been touted as an undersized linebacker. I can't wait to see if you can hold your own and shedding blocks and making plays behind the line of scrimmage, and if you're comfortable in space. Because if that is the case, and he's able to do all those things, Jay, this defense is going to open up even more.
All right. That's the one and only 3-time Super Bowl champion, Gerard Cherry. We'll take one final timeout. Come back. I'll do a little rapid fire around the league, and we'll wrap up a Thursday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, one final segment. Thanks to Matt Fontana. Thanks to Andrew Gribble. Thanks to Mike Clay for joining the show today. Appreciate everyone's help in getting through a crazy, crazy Thursday here on Cleveland Browns Daily. Also, thanks to the guy that's currently on the air with me right now, and Gerard Cherry doing an outstanding job. You can check out Gerard and Emmett coming up next on The Next Level on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Nick Paulus also doing a great job spinning the dials. Gerard, real quick, rapid fire, around the league. If you were the Packers, how would you handle the Aaron Rodgers situation?
Trade him without hesitation. As soon as that June date comes up where it won't hurt me on the cap, I'm getting rid of him.
Wow. Fact or fiction, Tim Tebow will be on the Jaguars opening day roster.
90 seconds.
Fact. He will be on that roster. He will find some way somehow for Herb to take care of his due. He'll be on that roster. Fact.
I think the clock is ticking if Herb has him on the opening day roster. Fact or fiction?
The fact that Herb signed him, you know the clock was ticking.
Yeah. Fact or fiction? Pittsburgh is the worst team in the AFC North.
Fiction. That's still the Bengals.
All right. How do the Patriots fans welcome back Tom Brady?
1 minute.
With a combination of booing and cheering.
Combination. It won't be all one or all the other.
Nah, it'll be a combination.
Boston
people are funny, man.
But by the way, the average ticket price for that's $1,400 a ticket right now.
I saw that.
Just
Wish I could call and get a ticket.
Yeah. Gerard, thank you, man. I greatly appreciate it. All the best to you and your family. Keep those kids in line. Good luck to you on that.
I heard that. I need it.
All right, Gerard, appreciate it as always. For Gerard Cherry, for Nick Paulus, I'm Jason Gibbs. The Next Level is coming up next. Make sure as well, if you want, you can check out KNR2 1540 AM for complete play-by-play coverage of the PGA Championship. Compliments of our friends at Westwood One. I'm Jason Gibbs. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.